I still remember the exact moment my world broke. I was sitting in my childhood living room in Neepville, looking at my parents across the coffee table. That coffee table had been part of my life for as long as I could remember. So many mornings I had sat there with my cup of coffee, reading, thinking, or just watching the sunlight shine through the window. The walls smelled faintly of baked cookies and old wood polish, and the familiar sound of the clock ticking on the wall always gave me a sense of calm. But that morning, the calm was gone. Mom was playing with her ring. She twisted it around and around nervously. Her face looked worried and her eyes didn't meet mine. "Artis, we need to talk about your savings account," she said softly. Dad, sitting next to her, looked away. He wouldn't look me in the eyes. "We used $85,000 to help your sister buy her dream home," he said quietly, almost like he was afraid of my reaction. My sister sat in the armchair, smirking as if she had won some secret game. "You don't have any money left now, do you?" she asked, her tone teasing, almost proud. I pulled up my bank app on my phone. My balance had dropped from $95,000 to just over $10,000. I froze for a moment. My mouth opened, and then instead of getting angry, I started laughing. I couldn't stop. It was loud, crazy laughter, echoing through the room. It didn't feel right, but I couldn't help it. After a few moments, the laughter faded and the shock hit me. My chest felt heavy, my heart raced, but somehow, inside, I felt calm. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? That money wasn't just numbers on a screen. It was mine. I had worked for it, saved every penny for 5 years while working as a software engineer in downtown Chicago. I worked long hours, 60 hours every week, while other people went on vacations, spent money on fancy dinners, or bought new clothes. I wore the same outfits over and over and ate simple meals to save every dollar. And I had been saving for something big. My own plan to make an app that would help people manage their money. I had my blueprint ready, the office space scouted, and everything planned. This betrayal could have ruined all my hard work. How could they even get into my account? I had given them temporary access last year when Dad had knee surgery, so they could pay bills. "It was an emergency," Dad muttered, looking guilty. "Your sister needed stability." My sister lounged in the chair, nails perfect, outfit perfect, looking like she always gets what she wants without doing a single thing. I felt like I needed air, but my mind was racing. They had no idea what I knew. A week earlier, I had been sitting in my office in Chicago, staring at the lines of code on my computer screen. My eyes were tired, and my fingers were sore from typing, but I didn't mind. At TechForge Solutions, my job was to make sure financial transactions were safe. I often stayed late to fix problems in the code, making sure everything worked perfectly. While my coworkers went to happy hours or weekend trips, I stayed focused. I ate simple peanut butter sandwiches or leftovers from home to save money. My clothes were plain but neat, practical, and clean. Every single dollar I saved went into my dream. After 5 years, I had $95,000 saved. That money wasn't just numbers. It was my ticket to my dream. I wanted to create Fintra Pro, an app that could track spending, warn people if they were about to overspend, and give smart, personal advice about money. I had stayed up late drawing screens on graph paper, testing the app on my laptop, and studying what other apps did. Other apps like Mint existed, but mine would be different. It could listen to your voice and warn you if something strange was happening with your money. I wanted busy people to feel safe and smart with their money. I had even found an office in the Loop district. It had brick walls, cool desks, and space for 8 people to work together. It was near other tech companies where I could meet people, network, and grow. The rent was perfect for my budget, and I even had people ready to test my app. Everything was ready. But lately, family problems had been bothering me. One day, during a coffee break, I checked social media and saw my sister posting pictures at a fancy store. She wrote, "When your sibling saves all the money and leaves you with nothing." Another post said she wanted family to help chase dreams. Friends liked and commented, and some tagged me indirectly. It felt like she was trying to make me look bad. At 32, my sister always found ways to get by. She jumped between retail jobs and tried to become an influencer. Meanwhile, I, at 28, worked hard to build stability. Our parents helped her many times, covering her rent after failed jobs, paying off her credit cards. I knew her behavior was a problem, but I had tried to ignore it. I talked to my friend during lunch. I showed her the posts. She frowned. "She is jealous and trying to make you look like a bad person. Remember, she borrowed money from you last year and never paid it back." I sighed. The pattern was clear. She was entitled, and I was independent. Growing up, she was the charming one at family events, while I focused on studying and working. My friend gave me advice. Protect yourself. Make a fake savings account with some money in it. Keep the real money safe. If anyone tries to take it, they will get the fake one. The idea made sense. That afternoon back at my desk, I made a new savings account. I moved $85,000 from my main account, adding a little extra to make it look untouched. I set it up so notifications looked exactly like the real account. If anyone checked, they would think it was still my money. I felt a little guilty, but mostly determined. Later, on the rainy streets of Neepville, I walked outside. My jacket was pulled tight, and the wind blew cold from the lake. I tried to think about the fight at home, but my phone buzzed. It was a message from Dad's messaging app, still on my phone from when I helped him before. I opened it. One message caught my eye. It was from 3 days ago involving Dad, my sister, and her boyfriend. The message said, "Artists won't notice if we move fast." I opened more messages. Varela, my sister, wrote, "The surgery access is still active. Perfect for the down payment." Dad replied, "We're in." Her boyfriend added, "This property will flip for profit. Family funds for family gains." I read the messages again and again. My heart sank. They had planned this together. My hard-earned money was being used without asking me. Rain soaked my shoes as I drove to Lincoln Park, where my sister's apartment was. I needed answers. I buzzed her. She answered casually. "Come on up," she said. Her apartment was fancy, with marble counters, modern furniture, and art on the walls. She was wearing comfy clothes, and her nails were done perfectly. "We need to talk about the money," I said. She looked a little scared but tried to hide it. "What about it?" I showed her the bank transfer confirmation. "You planned this with Dad and your boyfriend. These messages prove it." Her face turned pale, but she quickly smiled. "You're overreacting. It was just family helping." Her boyfriend came out of the bedroom, towel on his shoulder. "What's going on?" He tried to look surprised. I told them everything. "This house isn't for living. It's for flipping. You used my savings for investment." She admitted it. "Yes, the market is hot. We buy, renovate, and sell fast. Your money helps. Everyone benefits later." Her boyfriend nodded. "We didn't tell anyone to avoid drama." I stayed calm watching them. This didn't help. It was using me. She laughed bitterly. "You save every penny, I take risks. Maybe learn to share." I got more information before leaving. Property address, realtor name. Driving back, I felt angry but focused. They had underestimated me. The next day at lunch in my office, I couldn't focus on work. I checked public records. The condo my sister bought was purchased 5 days ago for $120,000, and it was already listed for $160,000. My stomach dropped. I called the realtor. "Has she lived there?" I asked. The agent laughed. "No, it's an investment. The family is backing her." Varela hadn't needed a home. She lied. She used my money to make a profit. Traffic was light as I drove back to our family house in Neepville. It was quiet, with lights on in the kitchen. I felt the rain dripping from my hair and jacket as I thought about what I would do next. They had made a huge mistake thinking I wouldn't notice. They had used my hard work for their plans, but I would fix it. I would protect myself. I would make sure my dream didn't get stolen. Mom opened the door looking very tired. Her shoulders slumped, and her eyes were red. "Artis, we weren't expecting you," she said quietly. I stepped inside and looked around. Dad was sitting at the kitchen table. Papers were scattered everywhere. Bills, letters, and printouts lay in a messy pile. It looked like he had been sitting there for hours, trying to figure things out. "I know about the house resale," I said, holding up the papers I had printed out from my files. Their faces turned pale. Mom twisted her hands nervously, and Dad let out a small sigh. "This wasn't for stability," Dad said quietly. He cleared his throat. "We had to help more than we told you." Mom bit her lip. "Your savings covered most of it, Artis, but we still needed an extra $30,000. So, we took a second mortgage on the house." The words hit me like a heavy stone. They had owned their house outright for 15 years, and now their retirement savings were at risk. I looked carefully at the documents. The loan was from a local bank. The papers showed variable interest rates, high monthly payments, and penalties if they wanted to pay it off early. "How much do you have to pay each month?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Dad admitted, $2,400 a month. I did the math in my head. Their pensions and Social Security gave them $3,200 each month. That meant they only had $800 left for food, electricity, water, medicine, and other essentials. I felt my stomach tighten. Mom shook her head slowly. We thought it would be temporary, Artis, until she stabilized. But from the texts, Red advised us to hide details. He told us that the house flip would cover everything fast, and even suggested ways to downplay the risks. I spoke aloud, trying to stay calm. After your loan payments, you only have $800 for everything else. If the interest rates rise, it could ruin you financially. This isn't safe. Dad looked defeated. His shoulders slumped and he didn't look at me. We exaggerated our income on the loan application so we could qualify, Dad said quietly. My eyes went wide. That was illegal. They could get in serious trouble for lying on the mortgage application. I realized then what had happened. Rhett had coached them to trick me and use their home as a gamble, and Varela had followed through on it. Mom nodded weakly. I felt a wave of anger, but I forced myself to stay calm. Their mistake could destroy the house we grew up in. The house where we celebrated holidays, birthdays, and many happy moments. I gathered copies of all the papers and left, thinking about what to do next. 2 days later, I was back at my apartment trying to eat dinner when my phone beeped. Suspicious login attempt detected. I froze. Someone had tried to get into my main bank account, the one that held my real savings. I had set up a decoy account, knowing that the other account might be at risk, but this one was supposed to be safe. My hands shook as I grabbed my laptop and checked the security logs. Multiple attempts had been made to log in. Thankfully, all of them failed because I had enabled two-factor authentication. One of the attempts came from a location near Lincoln Park, where Varela lived. Another attempt had used a VPN, but the pattern of hacking attempts looked amateurish. My heart pounded as I called Naira. She arrived within 20 minutes, carrying her laptop. Her face was serious. I explained everything to her. The login alert, the timestamps, and the suspicious IP addresses. We need to check the data carefully, she said. We sat at my kitchen table under the dim overhead light. Look at this timestamp, she pointed out. It aligns with when you confronted your parents about the mortgage. Someone is desperate for money. Using network tools and snapshots I had captured, we traced the IP addresses. They led to a public Wi-Fi spot at a coffee shop, but the metadata from the attempts matched a device fingerprint I had seen during family holidays in previous years. Naira cross-referenced this with emails I had forwarded her from the chain between Rhett and Varela. One of the emails from Rhett read, "If the first account's dry, try the main well." Use these credentials I pulled from her old login. The confirmation hit me like a wave. Varela and Rhett were behind this. They had moved from unauthorized access to outright hacking attempts on my real money. They thought the decoy account was all there was, but they were wrong. This proved their intent to steal more. We compiled the evidence methodically. We exported the bank logs into a secure PDF. We took screenshots of login alerts, highlighting errors and timestamps, and IP logs showing failed brute force patterns. Naira pulled up browser extensions to capture clean, watermarked timestamps on the emails and text messages, ensuring that no one could later claim the evidence had been tampered with. This shows premeditation and coordination, she said. We organized folders with geolocation pings, placing the attempts near Varela's apartment tower. The data confirmed it. By midnight, we had a comprehensive folder ready. Digital timestamps on every file, device IDs from the breaches, even error codes showing that they tried password guesses based on my birthday or other old personal info. Their hacking attempts had exposed their sloppiness. They had used unsecured connections and didn't cover their tracks, leaving digital breadcrumbs that any forensic tool could follow. If we handed this to authorities, it would qualify as cyber intrusion. The next morning, I contacted Mr. Alden, a civil attorney recommended by a colleague for handling family financial disputes. His office in downtown Chicago looked professional, with leather chairs and stacks of case files on the desk. I laid out the folder and walked him through the sequence. The unauthorized access to my account, the attempted breach of my main account, and all the coordinated hacking attempts. He reviewed the materials carefully, flipping through the prints and the digital files on his tablet. Solid chain of evidence here, he said. This qualifies as conversion of funds at minimum, with potential wire fraud elements if interstate tools were used. We can start with demand letters to all parties, outlining damages and threats of escalation. With evidence like this, settlement is likely. But we can push for full accountability, including costs and interest. He explained his fees on a contingency basis, timelines for filing in Illinois courts, and how to freeze assets if needed. I left his office with a signed retainer and a hardened resolve. This wasn't just about recovering money anymore. It was about teaching lasting consequences. They had learned that crossing boundaries like this carried real, irreversible costs. That weekend, I was sitting in a hospital waiting room when my phone rang. Mom's voice cracked as she spoke. Dad had collapsed in the Neepville kitchen. One side of his face was drooping, and his words were garbled. Paramedics were already loading him into the ambulance. I dropped everything and raced north on I-290 to Rush University Medical Center. I arrived just as they wheeled him into the neurology department. The ER doctor pulled me aside. "Minor ischemic stroke," he said, "likely caused by a clot from chronic hypertension, worsened by acute stress. He is stable, but the next 48 hours are critical." Mom clutched my arm, shaking. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. This was the fallout of their choices, not just aging. Varela burst in an hour later, Rhett trailing behind her like a shadow. She wore oversized sunglasses, even in the bright fluorescent lights, and her makeup was streaked. "How is he?" she demanded, her voice too loud for the quiet corridor. I waited until we were alone in the family lounge. "Your hack attempt triggered alerts. The logs point straight to your apartment." She paled under the fluorescent lights. Rhett tried to interrupt, but I cut him off. "Don't. The evidence is already with counsel." She started crying. "We were scared the first amount wasn't enough for closing costs." "Closing costs you never intended to live with," I said. "You needed seed money for a flip. And when the decoy dried up, you went hunting for the rest." Mom stepped in, her voice trembling. "Varela, is this true?" Dad's heart monitor beeped faster from the adjacent bay. Nurses rushed in to check his vitals. I turned to Varela. "You and Rhett turned my savings into gambling capital, then risked Dad's life when it backfired." Mom sobbed quietly. "We thought we were helping her get stable. She sold you a fantasy while planning profit." Rhett finally spoke, his voice low. "We can still turn the property around and pay everyone back." "There is no paying everyone back," I said, my voice firm. I gathered my jacket and left. Mr. Alden would handle everything starting Monday. Varela lunged forward. "You can't do this to your own father." "I already did the one thing that might save him," I said, "by refusing to enable more lies." Dad reached weakly toward me. I stepped out of range and walked down the corridor past beeping machines and worried faces. I didn't look back. The choice was made. They would face the consequences alone. Over the following months, Mr. Alden filed the civil suit promptly at the Cook County Circuit Court. Varela, Rhett, Mom, and Dad were all named as defendants for conversion of funds, breach of fiduciary duty, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The courthouse in downtown Chicago, with its grand columns and bustling clerks, became a second home during preparations. The discovery phase was grueling. It lasted 8 weeks. Their attorney filed motions to dismiss, claiming familial privilege, but Judge Isolde denied them, saying there was enough probable cause from our preliminary filings. Mr. Alden deposed each defendant remotely. Varela was evasive about the details of the house flip. Rhett minimized his advisory emails, calling them casual suggestions. We countered with our evidence stack. Authenticated bank records proving the unauthorized transfer of $85,000, timestamped text chains showing coordination, detailed hack attempt logs with IP traces, and the second mortgage documents showing exaggerated income figures. Pretrial conferences intensified. Each meeting felt longer and more exhausting than the last. The defendants tried to delay the case, but Mr. Alden was prepared. He always had copies of the evidence ready and walked me through every detail, so I could answer questions confidently. Mr. Alden spoke in the courtroom. This was not just a simple family loan. They planned to take the money on purpose and trick us. The other lawyer wanted to solve this quickly with an agreement, but I said no. Being honest and fair is more important than a quick fix. The trial started in early spring. It lasted 2 days. Judge Isolde was in charge. She is very serious and does not like nonsense in money cases. Her courtroom had tall wooden walls and a high desk so everyone's voice could be heard clearly. You could feel the room was serious just by standing in it. The first day was for opening statements. Mr. Alden explained everything that had happened. He said that I had given access to my bank account after surgery, but the defendants secretly took money from it. They also tried to cover it up. I lost a lot of money and felt very sad. I trusted them, but they betrayed me. The defense lawyer said they only wanted to help, but they did not have proof for that. Then it was time for witnesses. I spoke first. I explained how I found out about their plan. I told them how they tried to trick me. They thought my savings were theirs to use, not something to protect. During cross-examination, the other lawyer asked why I did certain things. I showed facts and printed messages from my phone to prove what really happened. Next, Varela went to the stand. Her voice shook as she spoke. She said she had used the money to buy a house. She claimed it was to help everyone, but her story did not seem truthful. Rhett went next. He said he only helped with the property and tried to make the mistake seem small. Mom and Dad came after. They looked sad and weak. Dad spoke slowly because he was still recovering from surgery. He said, "We thought it was for her safety." Mom cried as she said, "We never wanted to hurt anyone." Their words showed that they had been influenced by others and not completely honest. Experts helped explain the damage. A certified accountant showed how much money I lost and said I also suffered $50,000 in emotional pain because of therapy bills. A market expert explained that the property investment was very risky. They said that the value of the property would probably go down. At the end of the trial, Mr. Alden said all the evidence showed they tricked me for their own gain. I deserved to get all the money back. The defense asked the court to forgive them because we were family. Judge Isolde made her decision quickly. The court decided I was right. They stole money and caused emotional pain. I won $85,000 for the money plus $65,000 as punishment, making a total of $150,000. I also got my legal costs paid. After the court, things went badly for Varela. Her condo did not sell because the housing market went down and mortgage rates went above 7%. Property values in Lincoln Park dropped 20%, and her quick investment turned into a loss. She and Rhett filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Their cars and belongings were taken, and their credit scores dropped below 500 for 10 years. Mom and Dad had it worse. They missed mortgage payments and the bank started foreclosure. The bank took the Neepville house and sold it for 80% of its value to cover the $30,000 loan and fees. Dad had a stroke afterward and needed therapy and MRIs that cost over $20,000. They ended up in medical debt. They sold their savings and moved into a small assisted living place with a fixed income. The family broke apart completely. Varela kept sending angry messages that I did not answer. Rhett faced charges for hacking. Mom's requests to visit were ignored. Dad became less mobile. I watched from a distance without feeling sorry. Their choices caused this. A year after the trial, Fintra Pro did very well. The office was busy. Developers were coding new features, and marketers were talking to investors. By the first month, 15,000 people used the app. Revenue from premium features covered the costs and more. Features like fraud detection, inspired by my experience, became very popular. Naira, the COO, improved the operations. She helped the company get its first investment from venture firms. She would tell the team, "Your story made this happen," turning personal pain into product innovation. The absence of family helped me focus. I changed passwords, blocked emails, and moved to a safe condo. No holiday cards or surprise visits. Sometimes I missed family barbecues, but I stayed focused on my work. Varela's life fell apart completely. After bankruptcy, creditors chased her. She lost her job. Unpaid bills led to evictions, and she had to share a house with strangers. Her failed investment caused lawsuits. Friends avoided her. She sold jewelry and became isolated. Rhett's fall was faster and more public. His civil case ruined his reputation. Clients left him. He had to take classes on cyber ethics and pay money he could not afford. Job applications were rejected. He moved out of Chicago, couch-surfed, and could not open normal bank accounts. He blamed Varela online, but that made him look worse. Mom and Dad's situation was sad but expected. Their house sold for very little. Dad's health problems grew. He needed therapy, speech sessions, and blood pressure medicine. Insurance ran out, and out-of-pocket costs hit $40,000. They sold their things and moved to assisted living, with simple meals and limited activities. Mom's arthritis got worse. Dad used a walker. They sent letters about their problems, but I did not read them. Attempts to contact me stopped after a while. I deleted old voicemails and photos. Their choices caused this, and no guilt could fix it. At night, I looked at app numbers and thought about what I learned. I realized I needed to protect myself from being tricked. Money and emotional safety are important. True family respects boundaries and does not take advantage. Focusing on myself helped me grow. Accepting the break from family was right. Their ruin was because of their choices. My success came from my courage. I found closure without giving up. I also learned that even painful experiences can create new opportunities. The app became better because of what I went through. New features protected other people from scams and tricks. I felt proud that my hard work and careful choices turned a very sad story into something helpful for many people. Even though my family was gone from my life, I learned lessons about trust, honesty, and self-protection. Every day, I checked the app and saw it growing. People trusted it. It became a way to help people protect their money and feel safe. I remembered the hard times, but did not let them stop me. Instead, I turned them into something good. I worked with my team, improved the product, and saw the results. We celebrated small successes and kept learning. The story taught me that people's choices have consequences. Trust can be broken, and when it is, it can change lives. Protecting yourself is important, even from people you love. Boundaries are necessary. It also taught me that pain can become strength when used wisely. I moved forward, focused on the future, and created something meaningful. In the end, I felt calm knowing I had done my best. My family's choices caused their downfall, and my careful choices led to success. Life became clearer, lessons were learned, and the future looked brighter because I stayed strong and smart.